So, 6 months ago, April 3rd, at kind of about this time, I came home from work, and all day I'd kind of been pondering a phrase in my head, and I decided to share my experience and what I was going through. That morning had started out just like any other morning. I had taken the kids to their dad, and I came home, and instead of, taking a shower, shaving my legs, brushing my teeth, anything, productive, I laid back in bed, and for the next hour and a half, I stared at a wall. It's a pretty wall. It's purple, but as I lay there, wishing the time would go by quicker, because it refused to go by quick. It was slowing down, it felt like. I lay there trying to come up with any sort of excuse to not go to work. I didn't want to go to work. I didn't want to see people. I didn't want to help anyone. I just wanted to stay in bed and stare at a wall, because I felt like I was just laying there staring at this big, giant black pit that I wanted to just suck me in. And it felt like holding my breath, waiting for that to happen. But I got my ass out of bed, threw a hat on, no makeup, did not brush the teeth, didn't do any kind of anything productive or presentable. And I went to work. And I knew at that moment that I was severely depressed. And so as I was sitting there at work being a zombie, and my boss is constantly like, Johnny, that person needs a drink, that person needs their food, that kind of stuff, a phrase just started going through my head, and the phrase was a face of depression. Not the face of depression, because I know a lot of people go through it, but I was like, wow, I can officially say that I am a face of depression. And I don't know, I got this weird idea of sharing my story. And it was surprisingly easier than I thought it would be. Sometimes I spend weeks trying to figure out what I'm going to say next here, but that day I was so tired. I was so miserable that to sit in front of that camera was nice. I was like, wow. A lot of people talk about post-depression. They're like, I'm doing much better. This is what I went through. This is what it's like. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm waving the white flag. Here it is. I am doing terribly. And it's actually hard to watch that video. I cannot bring myself to watch the whole thing, because as soon as I kind of get partway through, I start crying, and I'm like, oh, I can't go back there. Whatever happens, I cannot go back there. But yeah, I finished the video, and I finished my glass of wine, and I went about the rest of my life. But I figured 6 months later, why not give an update? Because as you can see, I have showered. I have brushed my teeth. I have finally put on makeup and, cared a little bit about, what's going on in my life. I'm no longer a walking zombie. But I'm also far from better. Yeah, this week, as I've been thinking about, my video, I kind of sit there at, the end of my shift with a beer, and I'm, zoning out as I'm thinking about everything. People will come up to me, they're like, you okay? You look like someone killed your dog. I'm like, oh yeah, no, it's just, weighing heavy on my heart, because I got used to being able to just smile through everything. Because in that season of my life, my whole world was getting rocked. I mean, and for the most part, I can deal with a lot of this stuff. debt collectors were calling me because my health insurance didn't pick some stuff up. I had a case of mistaken identity. Someone was trying to hack my computers. I had to put up security systems. I was in the midst of a consequence for choices I had made. I became the target of someone's pathological lying. I became aware of the fact that I was the, I guess, obsession of someone who would love to see me fall. I mean, the list just kept going and going on. I was receiving hate messages, and I mean, I get those all the time. The last one came like 3 weeks ago, and it was someone was like, mind your own business, you ugly bitch loser. I mean, so like for 3 years I've gotten these messages. None of it has bothered me. I've dealt with bills, I've dealt with debt, I've dealt with, you know, ex-husbands, ex-boyfriends, all that kind of stuff. None of that bothered me. However, the storm just blew in and it brought everything. And yeah, so I was like, oh my gosh, I don't even know how I'm gonna do this. But as I, you know, started making my way through there, and even just being open about where I was at helped, because, you know, a lot of people, the outpouring that I got was just phenomenal. I walked into work and someone that I just adore just didn't even say anything, just came up and gave me a hug, and I was like, thank you. That's all I really need. You know, like, I don't need anyone to come in and fix it. I will slowly take apart this ball of crazy yarn and sort it out and work it out, get into therapy, work out my debt. I mean, I can do all of that. And as I started doing that, as I met with my counselor, the biggest thing that I knew, apart from being strong enough to deal with everything, the thing that was causing the depression the most was the grief I was working through. And I don't know, there's, you know, my counselor says, there's no timeline for grief. There's just not. You know, sometimes you're good and sometimes you're not. And I can feel it, because sometimes my back's turned to the big giant hole that wants to suck me up, and then sometimes I slowly turn and I'm like, oh, that would be really nice. That'd be really nice to just kind of like fall into for a little bit. And, you know, sometimes opposition comes up again, or I'll get a text message and, you know, I'll send it to my friend and she'll be like, no, whatever you do, don't. And she'll try to like positively motivate me, because she'll say, you can't go back into that dark place. Because, I mean, it was bad. Walking zombie, bad. And, but what I do know that I need to work through is grief. You know, I lost someone so very important in my life. To, you know, for anyone who ends up eventually, when I sell my book, reading it, his name is Sean in the book. I've referred to him on my little vlog thing as the unicorn. My kids know him as Michael Scott. But he changed my life. And yeah, it would be easy to focus on how it ended. And a lot of people do, and it breaks my heart, because I read it on Instagram or Facebook, or, you know, all these memes come up where people are just ranting and raving about their exes. And yeah, that would be easy for me to do, but all that does is stunt my healing, because I'm not grieving the asshole who said or did or however he treated me at the end. That's not who I'm grieving. I'm grieving the person that I fell in love with, the person who made me better in so many ways. The person. And for, you know, people who know me, I used to be a pastor, so having someone in your life who literally makes your faith come alive. And I mean, you cross paths with a lot of people who make you question your faith. You're like, what is going on here? He brought it into a whole new level for me. He's like, you know, King David, thinking with his other head, but yet at the end of the day is still called a man after God's own heart. You know, he would be the calm to my storm. He would correct me, and he would do it in a way that didn't tear me down, but reminded me that I was better than the choices that I was making. So that's who I'm grieving. someone so important in my life. So 6 months later, I can listen to music again. I kind of am okay with some of the other stuff that I do. You know, they say you lose the activities that you love. Right now, I still don't write. I still don't read books the way that I used to. I have new motivation, new passions that I'm working and stepping into and trying my hardest to move forward. But it's a work in progress, and it's not something I share with a lot of people anymore, but I will if you need it. If you need a support system, that's what I'm here for. But it's still very real. I don't know how long it's going to take. I know that I'm moving out of the depression phase and more into the grieving phase because, you know, I don't write the way that I used to because Sean was my inspiration. He was my muse. He was the reason that I did what I did. I don't read the way that I used to because I don't write the way that I used to. So I'm lacking all of that kind of stuff that I need to kind of make a difference in that area. But there's the 6-month update. I'm still a face of depression. Not nearly as bad as it was, but still there. And if anyone needs to reach out, I gotcha. I understand. It's hard, and you have to take a lot of time to sort through why you're in the place that you're in. And sometimes it's a lot less about the hate and anger that you're feeling, and it's a lot more about the pain and the loneliness and the loss in your life. So, okay, well, 6-month update. Have everyone have a great week, and Friday, let's hope Friday goes by fast.